The digital world moves fast, but real growth comes from real conversations. This is e-Coffee with Experts, where marketers and founders share what's actually working in SEO, AI, and digital growth. Grab your coffee and fuel your mind as we chat with top minds about their wins, struggles, and lessons you won't find in a blog post. Brought to you by Digital Web Solutions, we bring real talk to help you grow your business, one episode at a time. Let's get started.
Hey, hi everyone. Welcome to your show E-Coffee with Experts. This is your host Ranmay here, and today we have Jan, who is the founder and CEO of World History Encyclopedia with us. This is going to be an interesting one. Hey Jan, how's it going?
Hi, I'm well, and you? Nice to meet you.
All good, yeah. All good. Can't really complain. Great, Jan. Before we move any forward, let's go back a bit. Let's get to know the human behind the mic. Why don't you talk us through your journey a bit? What do you guys, how were you growing up as a kid? How come you got into history? How you built this company? A bit about you guys, what do you guys do, what do you guys is your core offering, and then we take it from there.
Right, yeah, lots of questions in one.
Yeah.
I think I kind of always liked history. I grew up with my parents. My mother was a teacher. She was very much into history, so was my father. And when I was young, they often took me to Greece, where as a little 4 or 5 year old, I was like climbing around ruins on a meadow somewhere. At the time, there were no like gates or anything. I probably don't think that's a good idea now, but at the time, that's what people did, I guess. So I was always connected to history in one way or another, and I was really keen on particularly historical computer games, actually. So I played a lot of Civilization as a teenager, starting with the very first one that came out in 91, I think. And that essentially led me to actually becoming a game designer after I completed university. I had created some modifications for Civilization, some of which were very popular, set in the ancient world. And so I was working with Firaxis Games, the developer of the game Civilization at the time, as sort of a tester and giving feedback. And then I became a game designer. I worked for Sega, working on the Total War series, which is a historical strategy game series. And in my job, I actually had to do a lot of historical research. Some of the research was very in-depth of looking at, the historical gross domestic product of some regions or the population of cities and things like that.
Yeah.
And by doing that, I found that there was like a gap on the internet. Obviously, there was Wikipedia, which was a source of very much information, but not always entirely correct, especially when we were looking at sort of less popular historical topics. Then there was Britannica, which was, very good, but unfortunately not free of charge at all. And then there were academic publications, so either academic journals or websites, and either they were sort of too specialized for like general use, or they were actually behind extremely expensive paywalls that an individual would never be able to afford. So I kind of saw this gap. I was like, well, maybe I can make a website that's there. And it was kind of a hobby project that started with me programming it on my commute in the train to work on a little laptop. And I launched it in 2008. So that's kind of how we got there. Yeah.
Lovely. And then talking about, picking up from ancient, how was the entire rebranding exercise from ancient to World History Encyclopedia? Was it a strategic power move to scale, or just happened to you guys? Give us more about it.
Right. Well, so as you sort of alluded to, we launched as Ancient History Encyclopedia for two reasons, really. The first one was I just really liked ancient history, so that helped. But the second is that, I was thinking, well, making an encyclopedia of all of history, of world history, would be crazy. Let's not do that. Let's do something smaller. Let's do an encyclopedia of ancient history. Maybe we can even achieve that. And so that's how we started. And we had, various people joining, volunteers and writers. And over time, we actually sort of completed ancient history. There are definitely still gaps, right? But we sort of covered all of the main topics that are, included in curricula all around the world, all of the popular things. And we were like, what do we do next? Do we write about the less popular things, or do we sort of move forward in history? And we decided to actually then move forward in history, and we started covering the Middle Ages, and then we had sort of completed that. And we thought, let's go to the early modern period. And then at some point we thought, we really can't call ourselves Ancient History Encyclopedia anymore. It's entirely misleading. And therefore we thought, okay, let's rebrand. Let's rebrand to World History Encyclopedia, which is sort of better explaining the sort of new ambition that we had. We really do want to cover all of world history. We still don't, but I think we have many of the main topics covered. So then, we worked with a graphic designer to sort of come up with a new logo and made a carefully sort of prepared SEO plan of how we would rebrand first and then move the domain and forward everything, which is a risky move. It cost us a lot of money, not in terms of what we spent, but opportunity cost, because I think most domain moves will come with a big dip in traffic, and ours did. And it took us about 12 months to recover. So yeah, but I think on the long-term strategy, it was the right move, because now our name is sort of synonymous with history.
Yeah.
It means if people want to know about history, hopefully know where to go,
Yeah, yeah. And then how was it, looking back, starting, with an investment of $1,000 from an inheritance to get all of this started, did you ever believe it will go kind of and become as big as it is today?
No, I honestly, I never thought it would. It was, as I said, it was really a hobby project to start with. And yeah, like you said, I had just inherited some money, and I took $1,000 of that and I paid for the first 100 contributions. And, I just invited some writers that I found online who I thought wrote well, and were clearly into history. And one of these writers, Joshua Mark, he stayed on after the money was used up. He just believed in the mission. He thought, let's continue. He was enjoying this. And so he just kept writing. I didn't write very much. I wrote the first few articles for the encyclopedia, but I realized a few things. I realized, first of all, that it's really hard. And secondly, that I'm not very good at it and I'm not enjoying it. And I really needed the help of people. Having Josh, who is actually a historian, come and sort of continue writing after the money dried up, I think that was one of the key moments, or the key things that made it possible for this to sort of take off. It still took many years to really take off, but that's kind of the background there.
Nice. And you touched upon SEO during the conversation. WHE has one of the strongest SEO footprints in educational space. So what are you guys doing right there? Talk us through your content SEO tactics.
Right, sure. SEO is something that was right at the heart of how we built the website from the ground up. So first of all, in terms of technical SEO, it's something that I essentially learned about as I was programming the website in 2008, and the structure of the page and everything was done so that it is as SEO friendly as possible. And we've updated that over the years to sort of comply with changes and guidelines from Google and so on. Another thing that we have is, unlike Wikipedia, for example, where all of the links are inserted manually by editors, what happens on our website is that all of the cross-links between articles, they occur automatically. There's essentially this network of articles, they're all connected. And when a new article gets inserted into the encyclopedia, all of the old articles will be updated to also link to the new one. And so that way, we don't actually need to spend a lot of time to go through all of the old content and make sure the SEO is still working. Everything new gets inserted into this web, and it just automatically sort of clicks together. Because the internal linking strategy is really important in SEO to make sure that Google understands the topical relevance and connections between topics. And so I think that was one of the, I think we can call it an innovation that we have in our entirely custom-built content management system to make sure that it works. And talking about right now, and the history, I guess, as well, we didn't really invest much money in sort of marketing or buying links and things like that. We grew very organically. I think the content that we produced resonated, and it just got links automatically. Now, we have done over the last few years, because we've learned a little bit along the way, realized that if we had invested some time or money in marketing, we probably would have grown a bit faster. So we have invested in reaching out to teachers and school librarians and so on to get the website more known, because the education audience is really important to us. And so that was successful. And I think right now, yeah, we're really thinking very much about AI. So what is an encyclopedia in a world where AI can answer any question? Obviously, currently AI still makes mistakes and so on, but I'm sure
Yeah.
that will reduce. And let's be honest, humans make mistakes too. So, you know.
AI gives you a lot of content, right? So how do you kind of, ensure that what you are doing, because your industry or your work at large is a lot about content up there, right? So how are you ensuring that everything is fact checked, or in fact, let me put it this way: how do you ensure the right use of AI?
Yeah, sure. So we actually have a rather strict AI policy that we've published on our website, and for which we got a lot of very positive feedback actually
Right.
from our readers. But essentially, our AI policy states that we don't accept any AI written content, just as we don't accept plagiarized content or paraphrased content. So everything needs to be human authored. It's impossible to 100% verify that, of course, but we do use various tools to help us detect AI written content. There's a lot of it that gets submitted, which we always reject. However, we do use AI to sort of help us detect plagiarism, for example. We use
Obviously.
AI as well for content categorization. So our sort of CMS is augmented with AI to determine the links between articles. We use AI for our search. We entered a partnership agreement with Perplexity last year. And so now we have Perplexity essentially powering parts of our search to provide essentially little answer snippets based exclusively on the content that's published on our website. And yeah, AI also helps our editors sometimes just to fact check, you know. It's a very useful tool. But we do believe that, you know, in an era where AI slop is now kind of everywhere, whether you look at social media or blogs or whatever, people do still value human written and human authored content
Obviously.
with sort of that critical thinking behind it. And as I mentioned, education is one of our very large audiences, and we just want to make sure that teachers and students feel that they can trust the information that is published on the website. And in
100%.
order to do that, we just say no to AI written content.
Lovely, lovely. I'm glad to take your opinion on that, Jan. Brilliant. This has been a great and an insightful session. I'm sure our audience would love it. And yeah, talking about audiences, if they want to reach out to you, how would they do that?
Obviously, you can visit our website, worldhistory.org, and contact us through there. Otherwise, we are easily found if you search for World History Encyclopedia. So we are
It's
found on
them.
Facebook, Google, Instagram, all of the platforms, basically. We're
Synonymous with the word history. All right, Jan, this has been a great episode. Once again, thank you so much for taking out time to do this with us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.